If you leave the TV on all day to keep your cat company, you think you're being a good owner, right? You're worried they'll get lonely. You want them to have some entertainment. And honestly, music, that sounds thoughtful. But here's the question almost nobody asks. Is your TV actually comforting your cat, or is it doing something completely different to their brain and body that you never intended? Because the answer isn't what most cat owners assume. And what's happening in your living room while you're at work might be the exact opposite of what you think. Let's start with the most surprising part, what your cat actually sees when they look at your screen. Did you know that what looks like smooth, natural motion to you might look like a flickering strobe light to your cat? Here's what I mean. Human eyes perceive about 16 to 20 images per second as fluid motion. That's why movies work. But cats? Research on feline vision published in veterinary ophthalmology journals shows that cats process visual information significantly faster than we do. Some estimates put their flicker fusion rate at 40 to 50 frames per second or higher. So what does that mean for your old TV or even some modern displays? If your screen refreshes at 60 Hz, your cat might see something closer to reality than you do. But older televisions, especially tube TVs that refresh at lower rates, can appear choppy and unnatural to feline eyes. It's not soothing background noise to them. It's a box of rapid, fragmented images that their predator brain is biologically wired to track. And here's where it gets interesting. Modern HD content made for pets, especially videos designed at higher frame rates, can actually register as more real to cats than to us. That bird video you put on for enrichment? Your cat's visual system might be processing it almost like actual prey, which brings us to the next question. Is that stimulation or is that stress? We'll come back to that. But first, there's something happening with the audio that most owners have never considered. Be honest. When you turn on the TV for your cat, you're thinking about the movement, the colors, maybe some nature documentary with birds. But what about the sound? Because while you're gone, your cat is hearing every explosion, every laugh track, every dramatic music swell, and every commercial jingle. And their ears are far more sensitive than yours. Cats can hear frequencies up to 64,000 Hz. Humans max out around 20,000 Hz. That high-pitched ringing in commercials you barely notice? Your cat hears it at a completely different intensity. And here's what the research tells us. A study on environmental enrichment for indoor cats found that chronic exposure to unpredictable sounds, the kind you get from TV programming that shifts from sitcom to news to action movie, can actually elevate cortisol levels. That's the stress hormone. Now, does that mean all TV sound is bad? Not exactly. Some cats do respond positively to consistent, calm audio. Classical music and species-specific music designed for cats has been shown in shelter studies to reduce stress behaviors. But random television programming, especially with sudden volume changes and high-frequency sounds, is not the same thing. It's auditory chaos disguised as companionship. And the worst part? You might not even notice the effects because your cat won't show stress the way a dog does. No barking, no whining. Just elevated baseline anxiety that shows up as overgrooming, changes in litter box habits, or that thing where your cat seems fine, but the vet says their blood work shows chronic stress. The TV didn't help. It just gave your cat something else to process while you were gone. The fix is simpler than you think. If you want audio comfort, skip the TV. Try a white noise machine, calming cat-specific playlists on streaming services, or honestly, just silence. Cats are ambush predators. Quiet is not their enemy. Unpredictability is. Here's a question you probably haven't thought about. How much does your cat actually sleep? The answer is somewhere between 12 and 16 hours a day, sometimes more. They're crepuscular, meaning they're naturally wired to be most active at dawn and dusk. The middle of the day, when you're at work and that TV is blaring? That's prime nap time. But a television creates something cats instinctively struggle to ignore: movement and sound in their territory. Even if your cat isn't actively watching, their brain registers the flickers, the motion, the audio shifts. And that makes it harder for them to fall into deep, restorative sleep. Think about trying to nap next to a highway. You might doze off, but you're never fully relaxed. Research into feline sleep architecture shows that cats cycle between light sleep and REM sleep, just like we do. But interruptions during the day can fragment that cycle. And chronic sleep disruption in cats has been linked to weakened immune function, increased irritability, and even a higher risk of obesity because poor sleep affects metabolism. And here's the part that surprised me when I first dug into this. A study on captive cats showed that environmental predictability matters more than environmental stimulation when it comes to rest quality. A quiet, consistent space lets your cat's nervous system actually relax. A TV running 6 to 8 hours introduces constant variability, which keeps the nervous system on low-level alert. The fix? Consider whether your cat actually needs daytime entertainment, or whether they'd thrive more with a predictable, calm space to sleep deeply while you're gone. And hey, if you're starting to rethink your setup, hit that subscribe button and join the Whisker Wisdom community. We dig into the science and psychology behind what our cats really need, not just what we assume makes them happy. Music. Alright, let's talk about what happens when you get home. Have you ever noticed that on days when the TV was on all day, your cat seems wired at night? Maybe they're zooming around at 10 p.m., knocking things off counters, or pestering you when you're trying to sleep. You might think they're just being cats. But what if I told you the TV played a role? Here's the thing. If your cat spent the day in a low-grade stimulated state, watching motion, hearing noise, but never actually doing anything, they'd burn mental energy without burning physical energy. It's like doom scrolling for cats. Stimulation without satisfaction. Behaviorists call this understimulation masquerading as enrichment. Your cat's prey drive got activated by those moving images, but there was no catch, no pounce, no reward. That energy doesn't just disappear. It builds. And when you come home, it explodes into nighttime craziness. Even worse, some cats start to prefer the passive stimulation of TV over active play. They'll sit and stare at the screen instead of engaging with toys, climbing, or exploring. And over time, that can lead to a more sedentary lifestyle, which we know increases risks for obesity, diabetes, and joint issues as they age. The good news? This one's fixable with a shift in approach. Instead of leaving the TV on, try rotating puzzle feeders, hiding treats around the house, or setting up a window perch with a bird feeder view outside. Real-world stimulation that invites interaction beats passive screen time every single time. So here's the truth most cat owners don't want to hear, because it's the one that actually requires us to change, not just our setup, but how we think about our cat's needs. The TV was never for them. It was for us. It made us feel less guilty about leaving. It let us believe we were doing something. But your cat doesn't experience loneliness the way you do. They're solitary hunters by nature. What they need isn't constant stimulation. It's environmental security, physical enrichment, and a strong bond with you when you are home. Studies on indoor cat welfare consistently show that the quality of interaction when you're present matters infinitely more than what's happening when you're gone. 15 minutes of active play with a wand toy, a consistent feeding routine, vertical spaces to climb, and a safe, quiet place to rest. That's the foundation. The TV can't give your cat a sense of territory. It can't simulate the satisfaction of a hunt. It can't replace the bond you build through play and routine. And in some cases, as we've covered, it actually works against those things by fragmenting sleep, increasing stress, and creating false stimulation. So here's the real fix, the one that costs nothing but intention. When you're home, be present. Play before you leave for work to tire them out. Create an environment that's predictable and enriched with real-world textures, heights, and hiding spots. And when you walk in the door, give them your attention, not just food. Because your cat doesn't need a TV. They need you, in the moments that matter. And they need a space that feels safe and predictable when you're not there. That's not neglect. That's understanding who your cat actually is. At Whisker Wisdom, we're all about making choices based on what cats really need, not just what makes us feel better. If this changed how you think about your setup, share it with a fellow cat lover who might be leaving the TV on out of love, not realizing there's a better way. Your cat's well-being isn't about doing more. Sometimes, it's about doing what actually matters.